And welcome back, everyone. Thanks for being with us here today. Coming up next is the story of innovation hubs in Zimbabwe, a very special project in a country with one of the highest literacy rates in Africa. Without further ado, let me welcome SwiZim Trust co-founder, Fungai Mettler, to the stage. Hello, Fungai.
Hi, Thomas. Hello, everybody.
We'll be talking today about empowering marginalized through digital, and you will be sharing more information and more the story behind the innovation hubs for Zimbabwe. But you're actually joining us here from?
Zurich, Switzerland.
Okay, but your roots are from Zimbabwe.
I'm Zimbabwean, Zimbabwean born and bred.
Very nice. Before we go with more details about innovation hubs, could you share with the audience, with our attendees, a short overview of what your foundation, SwiZim Trust, is doing?
Yeah, definitely. So SwiZim Trust stems from an organization called SwiZim Aid, which was founded about 12 years ago now. And the focus is really been poverty alleviation, water, sanitation, and education and health projects in Zimbabwe and in sub-Saharan Africa. And SwiZim Trust is an organization that was stemmed from there and is now a locally registered organization in Zimbabwe as well.
What are the goals behind the initiatives?
So the idea is really poverty alleviation in all sorts and forms. And obviously one of the projects that I will talk about are the innovation hubs, or the NUCs as we call them. But the idea behind SwiZim Trust is really poverty alleviation across Zimbabwe and sub-Saharan Africa. There's many brilliant people that are lacking an opportunity, and we just wanted to be able to contribute a little bit to that. And coming from home, knowing exactly how the scenarios are, and now being in Switzerland and being exposed to other organizations that we can partner with, we thought it would be great to make a contribution back in Zimbabwe.
Okay, so the foundation was founded 10 years ago, and
yes,
the
exactly.
hubs that you call NUCs are operational from? Since when?
So the idea behind the innovation hubs, or the NUCs, is really an idea that was firstly implemented in India, and we have partnered with an organization called Project DeFi, and they've been implementing NUCs for a couple of years now. And in Zimbabwe, this year is the first time that the NUC idea is then translated into the local context.
Okay, could you explain what is actually this innovation hub? Is it like the idea, or is it like something tangible?
Right. Very happy to. I love talking about this. But before I get into the detail, I call you to imagine a scenario where you have a dream, a goal, a vision, something you love to do, something you want to do, but you just absolutely have no opportunity to do it, right? And that's the scenario that many youths in Zimbabwe are in, because Zimbabwe, as you mentioned before, Thomas, is one of the countries with the highest literacy rates in Africa, but also one of the countries with one of the highest unemployment rates, right? So there's varying figures, but the figure at the moment is over 90% of the youth and young people are unemployed. So they go to university, they get a degree, they're highly qualified, but getting into an economy without opportunities for them. And so when you look at these young people, or people in general, that are really struggling, and you think, what can we do to contribute, right? So we have many philanthropic activities that are really based on immediate needs, so helping people with food, access to health, education, very critical. Next to that, we are seeing a lack of opportunities for people to actually create something for themselves. So because while people appreciate a donation every once in a while, what they really need is something to live for, that they can create for themselves as well, to come together with the donations and everything else that is happening. So when you imagine this scenario of somebody with a dream and with a goal, but with no opportunity to implement, and then I want you to picture this: an innovation hub or a Nook space is literally a physical building that we create, and we install solar panels to make sure that there's enough electricity supply. We install computers and laptops in there, and we ensure that anyone that wants to access the hub can completely come and create whatever they want to create. They have to research for themselves and to discover what it is that they want to create in the end. So innovation hubs in this context are really spaces for dreaming, growing, creating, and innovating whatever solutions or ideas that you come up with. And we provide all the facilities for that.
Okay, I think I see it. I can imagine. Is it more like the mobile container, or it's like the fixed building?
It's fixed buildings. In this instance, it's fixed buildings, but it's an idea that would also really work with mobile containers. For the moment, we're working with fixed buildings.
Okay, and how many learners, as you call them, can fit into one building? So at one time.
It depends from context to context. For the hub that we're building in the south of Zimbabwe, which is in Bulawayo, that one will fit at most 50 learners in the room at any one given point in time. Obviously, with COVID restrictions, that number would go down a lot more. And if we look at the innovation, we're also building an innovation hub in rural Zimbabwe with the other organization that we're working with. And this one is being built from scratch, right? So we were able to secure land for a 1,000-seater building, which is incredibly huge. So at any given point in time, that many people would be in each of the hubs. So the number of people really depends from context to context.
Okay, 100 people. That's really a lot. That's like the a huge incubator, I would say. Beyond hardware and like the high bandwidth access to the internet. So can these learners, participants of the program, can count on more support from your side?
They really can. So the idea behind the hubs, the reason it's so unique, or the exciting bit about it, is a learner comes and we set targets, and our main target is we want to create spaces for people to dream, grow, and create. And when they come in there and they create what they create, then they can come back. We always have a Nook Hub manager on site and 2 or 3 other support staff. And they then support the innovators in developing these ideas into either businesses that can bring them an income or to scale them, right? So the projects that we have would vary at any given point in time. And basically they can count on, they arrive at the Innovation Hub, they have access to computer and technology as they need it. When they've discovered what it is that they want to create and they reach a blockage and say, listen, I don't know what to do now, what we are doing then to help them from that stage is we're building a database of mentors and professionals, right? So gurus in their different fields, that then the young people can reach out to and say, hey, listen, I know you're working in coding and I have a coding project that I'm stuck with. Are you able to help me? Or I know you're working in the cooking industry. I'm trying to build a kitchen that feeds this and that number of people and I'm stuck. Can you help me? So this tribe of mentors, right, will be a database that we're currently in the process of building that the young people can always reach out to. That's one side. The next is, so already there's a couple of innovation hubs or Nooks that are established in India at this moment, in Uganda, and also in Rwanda. And the idea is we create a network of these Nooks that they can always learn from each other. And so you would go into the network and say, hi guys, I see that someone in Rwanda has created this, for example, and I would like to create the same. Can we share knowledge? So it becomes an incredible and powerful knowledge sharing network as well.
That sounds very nice. How people could possibly join the network of experts, network of mentors? So
yeah,
I'm interested. I'm not that good at coding, I would say, but maybe with online, maybe I could support someone. But if there will be, I would say right now, anyone from our dear attendees would like to join this initiative, how it's possible?
So the very first step now, because we're still working on the database in the background, the very first step is to just simply send me an email, fungai.mettler@gmail.com, and I would happily add you to the list of professionals that we're working with. And the nice thing is really any professional from anywhere in the world can join. That's the beauty of technology, right? And whenever you would be needed by one of the learners, they would call upon you and ask for your input. So definitely great to hear. If there would be someone interested, they can simply reach out to me and we'd add them to the database.
Is it really that varied as it comes with the most desired skills? Or yeah, so I'm interested are some skills more desired than others? Is it more coding than marketing or design, or you mentioned backing even? So I'm interested. So what's the demand?
Yeah, the nice thing is with the innovation hubs in Zimbabwe, so 2 of the innovation hubs are already in the process, ready for launch. From experience with the other innovation hubs, you can't preempt what the needs are going to be. And basically, it just depends on who walks through the door and what their interests are. And it really ranges. So I'll share a couple of examples after this, but it really ranges from someone that wants to learn coding to someone that is into jewelry making to someone that wants to go into robotics and then someone that wants to learn to bake and to cook, right? So we're really driven by the needs and the interests of the learners or the innovators themselves. And that's why I say it would actually be really excellent if we could have professionals from all across the fields, whatever area you're working in. There's certainly a young person, a young innovator, entrepreneur in Zimbabwe that could really benefit from your experience.
Okay, that's interesting. Coming back to the project, so do you set any deadline for this project? So just to make sure it's not only the nice idea and the nice idea about some nice project, whatever it's like coding, robotics. Do you set any expectations to your participants?
Yeah, we definitely do. So the model that Project DeFi has shared with all the innovation hubs around the world is generally learners have a 6-month period from the day they arrive at the hub until their so-called graduation, right? So they have 6 months to work on whatever, and we don't have any set targets for them to say by this and that date your project should be here and there. But we say after 6 months, we'd like to see anything that you've produced, because that enables us then to determine, do you still need to be in the space, or can you create space for somebody else, or maybe can we provide you support from outside of the space? So they have 6 months, and then the cohort would then showcase whatever they've been creating over the last 6 months. And in Rwanda, we had a very nice example whereby the learners then shared with their community what they had been working on. So the people from the community could come in and witness this, so to speak, graduation ceremony and see what projects that the youth had been working on. And this way you create an interaction as well, right, with the community where you're operating. And this is a model that we're also adopting in Bulawayo and in Masvingo for the NUCAP. So they would share with the community to say, over the last 6 months, this is what we have created. What other problems can you identify that exist in our community that we could start to think about or to brainstorm about solving? So it becomes a very interactive society, and everyone is participating in the development of their own community.
Okay, got it. Could you share what's your goal behind this innovation hub? So do you have any like KPI for this project? So do you track any numbers that is your goal that say, okay, that's that you know that this is a success?
One person that comes into the innovation hub, their life is changed. They can build and they can work on their dreams and go home and say, yes, because of that initiative from SwiZim Trust, I have been able to achieve my dream, right? When you're looking at it on the broader level, that's always our biggest target. When we look at actual numbers, so we have currently, specifically for Zimbabwe, we have a hub in Bulawayo and a hub in Masvingo that are very close to launching and blowing up. And then we have two that we're also in the process of discussing. So all in all, we have more or less 4 innovation hubs in the pipeline. And our idea is to build 10 of them across the country. So if we can have 10 innovation hubs, 1 in each of Zimbabwe's provinces, we would be at our happiest, because that means we have created spaces in different parts of the country for people to dream, grow, and create.
Okay. And for this 6 months timeline, is there any like average number or example? So I would like to picture it better. How many innovators can be trained in one innovation hub?
Yeah, so if we say every 6 months we provide access to 100 innovators, for example, that means in the year for one hub, it's going to be 200. And if we then multiply that to the 10 innovation hubs, right, the goal or the dream would be to reach at least 5,000 innovators a year. At any given point in time, which is a big goal. It's a big number. But can you imagine a society where you have 5,000 young people that would otherwise be sitting at home wondering what to do with their lives, and now they have this brilliant opportunity to create something and to solve the problems in their society? I think that would be a pretty brilliant achievement from their side.
Okay, great. Speaking of the network of mentors, do you also work with any kind of business angels or venture capitals?
So that is the idea, because we also have mentors that are entrepreneurs, right? And they know how the business world works, and specifically how it works in the local context, so that they would know exactly how the Zimbabwean market works. And they could help people develop their ideas into business ideas. And then the next level of that would then be matching them with business investors, right, that see potential in the different ideas that they have and that could help them to scale. And that would be the idea for the learners. For the hubs themselves, we would like for them to get to a point of sustainability, because obviously we are creating them free of charge, because of in such a tough economy, there's no chance at all to charge young people to access a space like this. So really dependent on donors, and we're fundraising on this side to make sure that these hubs remain ever fully freely accessible. And the idea would be, if at some point then someone is able to create a business for themselves out of the innovation hubs, using the facilities, the tools, and the equipment, and they would say, okay, I've benefited from this hub and I'd like to give back something, that would be a brilliant way for the hub to keep on sustaining itself.
Okay. Speaking of this project that has been completed or finished, or maybe they are still in progress, could you share any examples, maybe your favorite projects?
Yeah, so I was listening before and hearing a couple of examples from Nook hubs around the globe, right? And one that really fascinated me is a young boy in India that has created a drone from scratch, just using the internet to learn and then using, yeah, and then using recycled materials, right? So stuff really from the street, you pick these things up and you create a drone. We have someone that has created in Rwanda a database, or that is in the process of creating a database for musicians in the country, to be able to be found very quickly. So a solution that is brilliant, right? So you can go to this database and you can find musicians in this genre, singing in this and that area, and you can access them or reach out to them very simply. We also have an example again from Rwanda of a lady that is currently working on a canteen, and what she's identified in her community is that there's the diet is not balanced, right? And the people are predominantly dependent on the starch and the protein, but the other elements are missing. So she's creating a canteen whereby people would be able to access a fully balanced diet within her community. So really ranging projects, but really fascinating. Sometimes people will create a vacuum cleaner from scrap materials just to test if the model will actually work. So go on the internet, figure out, how do I create this? And then when you see talent in someone like that and they're sitting on it at home and they're not able to figure out how to create things like this, your heart literally breaks. So you look at these young people now that have access to some of these facilities and they're creating, and then you think, how can we match them to developers on a higher level that would actually nurture this talent on a higher level to make sure that they're creating something to develop their community and the country.
Sounds amazing, really. What about, well, any failures, if there were any? So maybe there were projects that you were not satisfied. Maybe there are challenges you would like to share with us today that you're going to.
No, absolutely. The beauty of innovation is there's always a lot of failure in the end. And the model that we're bringing to Zimbabwe, this is the first of its kind, right? A space that is free of charge for young people to just create whatever they want to create and solve their problems. This means that we're constantly fundraising to make sure that these spaces are available, right? And thinking of scaling and growing them and creating more and more opportunities. We're constantly being approached by different partners that would like to create similar spaces and they have no funding. So we're really in this heavy process right now of trying to say, how can we make sure that these spaces can accommodate as many people as possible? And then the second one sometimes is local systems are a big barrier. And context is really sometimes the context we're operating in are very tough. And a big challenge is really how to speak to authorities and to help them understand the work that you're doing, the importance of the work that you're doing, and just trying to make sure that you're collaborating with them so that they're working with you and not against you. Those are some of the challenges that are really sometimes tough, but we also have ways of mitigating, right, these challenges. We look at how we currently have a team or a group that is on the ground in Zimbabwe, a team of 3 brilliant people, and they know how to navigate the local context very, very well. So one way of mitigating always is making sure that you're working with local people that know how the systems operate, and this has been really, really critical for some of the successes, especially in the foundational phase in terms of operating in Zimbabwe.
Amazing. I know you've got a few slides prepared that you would like to show and share with the audience. So we have like the 5 more minutes to do that. So if you could just share the screen, that would be
great. Give me a quick moment.
I'm giving you a quick moment.
So I would like to share this.
Yep, I will add it to the stream right now. Okay. We can see black screen right now. Okay, we got it.
Okay, perfect. And this is really just an example from a Nook Hub in India. As you'll see, these are young people, right? And in front of them are 2 laptops, and they are so intrigued and so fascinated. They're researching, they're finding solutions to the problems that they're encountering. But also one of the things that then happens at the hubs is you won't always have attendees that are coming in that have full expertise already on how to use a computer, for example, right? So one of the initiatives is maybe in the mornings or later in the afternoons to conduct computer learning lessons for all ages, or you could group the people into different ages depending on the needs at that particular place. But as you'll see here, people are they're just so curious and so excited to have this exposure to a simple laptop, right, which is something that they wouldn't have at home, but in the hub they can access it and easily create something for themselves from there. Okay. I will go to the next slide.
What is it? No, that's not the drone, right?
No, this is not the drone. I don't have the drone in a picture, but happy to send you a video to show you that. But yeah, here is another example of a Nook learner that decided they wanted to create an electric gate. And here the Nook Hub facility, the managers then went and looked for all the resources and equipment that they needed, and provided it to them. And this is in Rwanda. And you can see them gathered around. They've completely learned how to build an electric gate from scratch on their own, and now they're welding it. And they also had to learn how to do welding, for example, and they have the gear on and they're working on it. So a very, very clear example, right? When people have the opportunity, the space, the tools, the equipment, they can create. And that's why we do what we do. And here on this slide, you just see a very snapshot view, right? So I told you a little bit already about Dativa and her creating a health canteen, about Peter and how he's also writing about music, right? So that's another element. You have people that come in and all they want to do is music. So what we did is we shipped a container. So when we decided we wanted to launch Nook Hubs in Bulawayo and Mashingwa in Zimbabwe, we gathered up equipment from here in Switzerland, and we partnered for the laptops either from individual donations, or we partnered with an organization called LabDo, and they generally gather up or use computers and laptops, clean them up and load them up with a new system that's very easy to access, and then they donate them to organizations like ours. So LabDo is excellent for that. And they donated to us nearly 20 computers and laptops for the different hubs, and those have been sent through. And so when people, when we sent the container through, we then also gathered loads of other equipment that people could use, from arts and crafts, from handy projects, from tools. So actually like nails and hammers, we just loaded up a container with everything that people could generally use to innovate and create. For the most part, that's maybe difficult to find locally or really expensive, because they always have to go to South Africa to buy some of the items to bring them back into Zimbabwe. But what we also did is we sent through guitars, right? And so when they will arrive at the Innovation Hub, they basically open up and they see a guitar and think, oh, I'm interested in music. I want to write music. And what do? Go to the internet, find out, how do you write music? And they learn that, right? So Peter in Rwanda, he's produced songs and he's created music that is highlighting the social problems in Rwanda. And I think if there's anything we've learned from history, is music is critical for raising awareness, right? And so that's what he's doing with his talent. And then Safina, again in Rwanda, is creating a web app to showcase local artists in a region, right? What I mentioned before. And Saidi is creating a four-wheel electric car with a single seat, right? So it's very, very much across the board, and it's diverse projects that we're seeing coming up in the various hubs across the globe. And we always then learn and exchange experiences with these hubs. So we had the Zimbabwe team fly to Rwanda to go and learn about how is the Rwanda team doing their work, what are the problems that they're encountering, and how can we replicate some of this work. And some of the lessons are very, you would think, very simple in your mind, but you'd never think about it unless you've actually experienced a context like that.
Right.
So I'll stop sharing because that is the last slide, and I'll just tell a little story of
Okay,
how
just
it happened.
be mindful. We have just one more minute because there will be another panel coming. So just really quick on closing remark.
So exactly what I was going to say is the closing remark is, generally you have no idea what is coming at you. The beauty of innovating is you create space, you allow yourself to dream, grow, create. So as much as we're providing this space for the learners to do that, we're also providing the space for ourselves to also do that. And we think the project is really great. We have heard some great feedback, and we look forward to continuing on our journey and our vision of empowering the underprivileged through digital means.
That's amazing. Thank you. You were able to join us here today.
My pleasure.
I'm really grateful that we were able to share more lights on how the empowering might look like in Africa. So thanks for that. Thanks, Fungai.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye, everyone.